Hello everybody, this is the Blazing Rat doing a mock review of Blaze, the Blazing Rat. So here we have him. We'll get into a little bit of the story here. He's one of several elemental rats, rat being the initials of the three creators that developed, well, let me rephrase that, forged him and his kin, kind of. They don't really see each other as kin. Some will refer to themselves as siblings, but only the ones that were forged on the same planet, because they actually weren't all forged on the same planet as one would think. No, they actually were forged on different ones that harnessed high levels of each element. Where, for example, here Blaze was forged on a planet that was basically mostly molten lava and very stuffy. He and actually Red, the Shadow Rat, was also forged on the same planet, given the fact that with all that heat and molten lava, there was also actually quite a lot of darkness, and more so than any other planets. His planet is quite interesting because actually literally more than half of it was the molten lava, and what wasn't was total darkness. There's actually no sun in that system. If anything, this planet was the closest thing that system had to a sun. But yes, so he harnesses fire, thus all the fancy fire trim he's gotten all his, and I dropped the rocket skull. Oh well. So kind of his backstory. He is one of the rats. He unfortunately was during this war where the creators were attempting to build them to tip the scale in the favor of good, which for a long time they were being very successful in that matter. Unfortunately, as the war went on, they scattered. At most there was two working together in all these fights, but unfortunately Blaze here was alone. He did have soldiers with him, but he was the only rat in the battles that he was fighting, which once they were all scattered, it was easier to pick them all off. Some unfortunately have fallen. Blaze came close to it himself. He was actually in a starship in dogfight at the time when he got blown to bits. At least his ship was. He was still alive. He just was pretty banged up. He got a couple of head injuries there. He has no memory of his past life. He doesn't even know that he's one of the rats. And then he slowly gets his memory back, but it's only little bits. He doesn't have the full picture. He runs ironically enough, out of all the rats he runs into, it is the one he considers to be a sister. Red. So getting a little bit of his build and design here. We'll start kind of the lower half here, the legs. So legs, it's kind of a simple build, pretty much. It's a simple build. Basically, his legs are they're simple build. It's pretty obvious what I did. Put in some system parts, some fillers. I almost had a sneeze there. Whew, that was close. The thighs, though, is probably the more sophisticated, but it's really just some Technic connectors connecting the ball joints. And then there's actually a ball, or I think it's, ball? It's not a joint. It's one of the, I think they're just called balls. Ball sockets, I think is what it's called. It's a ball socket connected to the armor piece. And I also have this robot hand is actually connected through to the ball connector through the armor piece. So it's actually, if anything, this piece here is actually more connected to through the hand than it is, or the robot hand, than it is through the ball joint, which is kind of funny. And then, yeah, it's pretty simple. His torso is probably the most complex thing. It's actually, I really was just going for building a solid torso at the time, that I just basically threw anything I could into the torso. And interestingly enough, decided of all parts and colors, I put in an trans neon armor plating for the belly. So I guess he's got fire in his belly, I guess. And he's got little bags here. Basically, he likes to collect things as he roams through. Tokens, he'll definitely have some tokens of his adventures nowadays. Given the fact, memory loss, takes on grabs these little things, just as mementos. You never know if he may lose his memory again. It's uncertain. It's uncharted territory for him on that. His back is pretty well armored for the most part. His back was kind of built to be kind of like a tortoise shell. It's kind of where maybe the inspiration on the torso went was, because I think I was watching the Turtle movies at the time. And then arms. So I think it's the Varaki was the first set they came in, but these leg pieces are one of my favorite parts, and I love using them for the arms like this, because I like the armor sticking out past the elbow. It's just an interesting thing I've always liked when I've seen MOCs of Bionicles, or any like content art of robots or spacesuits. But I always like that. As you see in his left hand, he's got his arm cannon, which is just one of the six shooter stud launchers. I just connected to where the wrist goes. And just put the hand in. And it's a nice easy connection for the wrist. And yeah. Thumbs up on that. For shoulder pads, I tend to like to use the Rashi heads for it. I don't know why. I just like how it's nice and slick look to it. And then, yeah, it's just something I like, especially when I'm doing the rat MOCs. That's a tendency I like to do with them. I try to keep them a little consistent so it's kind of easy to tell they're kind of grouped together. But yeah, arms, it is a simple on the lower forearms here. It's just a simple build. It's just leg piece is actually just clipped onto it. It's just more aesthetics than anything. Head. So some folks say the pandemic drill that I added on here is like a rebreather or a mask and an add-ons to that. It actually isn't. It's actually part of his face. So for all my MOCs here, they're in their own universe storyline, so there actually is no Toas or Makuta. So for most part, mask isn't really a thing. There's no mask powers or any of that. I'm just kind of just using boundable parts to build. It's kind of basically I'm going for a different universe, basically. So this is actually his face, and it's actually is part of his face. So in the design I had in my head when coming up with him, I kind of want to give him like a techno kind of face design. So he doesn't actually have a typical mouth. Basically, I can't think of the words that best describes it, but it's like one of those, like, I'm trying to think of what, because I can picture in my head what I'm thinking of, but I can't think of the words for it. But it's like in sound waves, kind of. There's those, every time you see on like fancy speakers or yeah, once it's fancy like speakers, you see like the loud noises, it kind of spikes up and down. It's like on a digital screen. It was a big thing. I think it was in the 80s is when it first started. Or at least it was like a bunch of dots they had just bounce up and down every time the noise happened. But anyway, that's kind of what his face is supposed to be, like the mouth part. So every time he talks, it's like a little digital lights up, basically. At least that was my initial idea in the design. The mask, though, or the mask I used to make the face, I picked this one ironically because of the parts here, the fins at the back here, because to me it kind of looks like ears for like a rat. So theoretically, design-wise, these would be able to move up and down because it's like his ears. He can. But I'm working on designing a shapewear mask or 3D mask. I just don't have the printer. But anyway, yeah, I'm trying to come up with custom masks for him and all the of them in the long run. This guy actually, I use a lot of the trans neon orange is the name for it. A lot of them on this build, because literally if I was to put a black light over him, he will light up like a Christmas tree. It's really cool. I would show it in this video right now for you folks, except my black lights batteries have expired. At like literally, I was grabbing it to test it out for this, because I was grabbing it to do it for this video, and it decided it didn't want to work. And it's the AAA's, and I don't have any on me at the moment. So I'll probably, when I upload this video, I'll probably throw in some pictures in the end or right after I've mentioned this whole thing when I get to the editing. If I don't, it's probably because I still haven't made it to the story at the time. Get into some of his accessories here. So start off with his fire sword. It's kind of plain. I know I should have used the other fire element for it, but everywhere I found it on Bricklink, it's more than I believe it should be. And I'm kind of weird about principle. Out of principle, I just, if it costs too much than I think it should be, then I tend to just not get it. But I keep my eye out. If anyone's got it in a reasonable price, I will end up getting it. Then we'll move on to the next one, which is his plasma blaster. We'll notice that the armor and all the fancy design is on the left side of it, because he is left-handed. So I don't know if anyone would notice that in the post or anything, but he is left-handed, whereas all my other characters will be right-handed. So yeah, so that's why you'll probably see like it would be like weird in some things, because there will be photos where probably somebody else will be holding his gun, and it'll be like, you'll probably just see like this side, and it looks kind of weird, not as cool as this side. Plasma cannon's got a little scope, kind of crosshairs basically. Kind of in the personality, due to the fact he's kind of got no memory, he is trying to discover himself and try and find out who he was and how he was. So he kind of basically shuffles through personalities. So there'll be times where he's a grumpy Gus, other times he'll be smart aleck, serious, etc. 90% of the time he is a smart aleck. He's very creative, high intelligence. He's probably one of the smartest of the rats. He isn't the smartest, but he's one of them. He is the most clever though, and is an escape artist, and always likes a challenge. And then due to his creative side, he does tinker a lot with gadgets and stuff. He does try to always keep up to date with that. So he does have some tools. He has a really tiny hammer, or kind of a proper scale actually, technically on the hammer. It's just really kind of flat. And a really oversized wrench. I don't know what kind of gear or bolt needs a wrench this big, but he has it. and he's ready to go when he finds it. He does like to explore, so he does have a interesting little camera. He's been taking some pictures of, it looks like, some charts. I'm not sure why he's doing that today, but that's what he does. That's like accessories, but yeah, into the story. Yep, he's still trying to learn who he is and all that. Overall, I definitely enjoyed building him. If I was to change anything, I'd probably make the feet more custom, because after designing Red here, I really like making those custom leg feet. So the trick is, I would have done it already before, but there's not a lot of parts in dark red, so I just got to keep my eye out for parts that I like that would look good, because I'm either going to do them in dark red, or I'm going to switch it and do the thighs here in the dark red, and then make the lower everything below the knee into silver. Kind of give him some interesting style there. Probably look like it's prosthetics when it's actually not. But yeah, so that's Blaze for you. He's gonna be an interesting character to deal with. Some folks will have to be a little patient. He's trying to figure out who he is. Yeah, that's him. There's his sister, Red. You folks all have a wonderful day or evening, wherever it may be, or whenever it may be. And yeah, that'll be it. Catch you all later. Goodbye.